Alright, foodies, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be making a Jamaican beef patty. It's the first time in years that I'm trying this recipe, but you know I think already good things come to those who wait. Normally we don't make beef patties, I must tell you the truth. The beef patties that are made by the stores, they are absolutely so good, so we don't never really have a need to make beef patty. But if you're in a state where you're not able to get the perfect beef patty, I'm going to show you how to make it for yourself. We're going to be using a nice authentic Jamaican crust. It's going to be flaky. We have the curry powder, we have the seasonings, we have the beef, of course. We're going to be using a top round. I'm going to be doing it a little bit different. What I'm going to do, I'm going to sear off the beef, get some color on the outside, cook it down, then I'm going to cut it up fine, and then I'm going to add the seasonings, and then I'm going to let it continue to cook. That's how we'll be doing it here today. Guys, if you like this video, I want you guys to follow the channel, subscribe to the channel, and show your support while we attempt, it's not an attempt, but you're going to attempt to make this Jamaican beef patty recipe. The ingredients that you'll need to make the crust for yourself: you're going to need some flour, you'll need some cold butter, some salt, baking powder, curry powder, and of course some sugar. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to combine everything and we're going to knead it together, and of course we're going to be using water to combine all of that ingredient. Okay guys, so let's start off by combining our ingredients. So we have 4 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to be adding a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder. We're having 2 teaspoons of curry powder. We're also having a teaspoon of sugar, and of course I'm going to be adding in some cold butter, and then we're going to add the water and incorporate everything. But we don't want to over knead it, we want to still keep some of the butter intact, of course. So we're going to add our butter as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and combine everything together without pressing out the butter. Make a well, and then we're going to add the water. And then while the dough is working out, you can see the flakes that are there as well. You can see the curry, the yellow rich curry powder. You know what, this curry smells so good, guys. I wish you could smell it for yourself. You can get the rich, the real curry flavor. So we have everything combined. As I said before, I won't be over mixing it because I still want to keep the solid fat intact. So when I start to roll it out, that's what will keep the flake, and then we're going to make different layers. So we're going to let this sit for a little while, then we're going to work on the beef, and then we're going to go ahead and sear off the beef and then add our seasonings and let it cook. So we're going to let this sit for a little while, but let me show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is what the dough looks like. I'm going to pop this in the freezer. I'm going to wrap it and put it in the fridge. So when I'm working with the dough, it's going to be cold, and then the butter can still stay cold. So I'm going to wrap this and keep it in the refrigerator. Now let's work on the beef. Alright guys, so this is chuck steak. It's actually beef. You can use whatever cut of beef you want to use. So I'm going to be seasoning this beef. This beef, it has already been washed already. So this is very clean. I'm going to be adding in my secret seasoning. This is my Feel Good Chef seasoning, and this one will be available shortly, so you guys can purchase this one just to show your support to the channel. So we're going to be adding a tablespoon of the Feel Good Chef seasoning. If you don't have this one, which I doubt that you have, you can always use some salt and black pepper. You can also use some Jamaican seasonings. Whichever one you have, that will be good as well. So this is the main thing that we're going to be using. So we're going to brown this off in the pot. Then we're going to add some liquid to it, and then we're going to cook it until it becomes tender. When it becomes tender, I'm going to remove it from the fire, let it cool down. Then I'm going to cut it up. And then I'm going to cut up some of these as well. Some onions and thyme, scallion, and some hot pepper. Of course, I may or may not add ginger depending on how it tastes. I'm going to dice those up, I'm going to mince it up, and then I'm going to add it back to my minced beef, and then I'm going to continue to cook it and create a nice gravy, and then we'll see how that turns out. I'll taste it along the way and give you guys an update. And don't worry about the recipe will be in the description, so you guys can follow the recipe on the description and just follow my instruction to arrive at the perfect beef patty. So let's move on to the next step. Alright foodies, so I have a hot Dutch pot. I'm going to add some oil, then I'm going to add my steak and some garlic and then let this cook. Alright, so I'm going to burn this on two sides. By burning, I mean obviously letting the two sides develop some color. Then I'm going to add the liquid and cover it down and let it cook. Alright foodies, so it's time to go ahead and turn over the steak. Alright, so we're going to let this cook until it becomes soft. That's the only purpose of this stage. We're not really seasoning it up as yet. So we're just going to let this cook until it becomes really tender. This will take at least 30 minutes. Alright, so far I hope you guys are enjoying the recipe. We're enjoying the cooking process. I want you guys to show your support by subscribing to the channel. Yeah man, just go ahead and just hit the subscription button. Show your love to the channel. That's how we grow the channel. And in the meantime, I'm also making other videos, other recipes in the background. So it's a little bit challenging, but guess what, I'm still very energized. I'll be publishing those videos very soon, so I want you guys to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Your subscription is the most important thing in the entire world, separate and apart from God and food and family. God, food, family, and then your subscription. Alright, so guess what, enough of that. We're going to work on the veggies now. We're going to be mincing in our veggies. We're going to mince up our veggies. That's what we're going to be working on right now. Alright, so we're going to work on the onion first. We're going to be using at least half of a whole onion. And then you want to cut it as fine as you can cut it. You can also blend this as well, You can put it in the food processor if your knife skills are not necessarily the best. I have a video on this channel if you guys want to go ahead and watch that one, where I teach you how to master the art of using the knife, so you don't have to worry about that. So I have the perfect knife skill, so you don't have to worry about that. My knife is a little bit dull, but that won't stop my knife skills from shining too. So you want to make sure that your onion is quite minced. Make sure it's really fine, because you don't want to be eating the patties and then all of these seasonings are just bursting out in your mouth. You want to know that they're there without actually tasting the particles of onion. The thyme, I'm going to take off the leaf from the thyme. And the reason why I'm taking off the leaf, again, you don't want to be tasting this in your mouth when you're eating the beef patty. You want it to just be nice and smooth. Because normally the filling for the beef patty is very smooth. It's a very smooth flavor. So we're taking out all of the stems from the thyme. And I'm going to cut it up a little bit more. Alright, we have the scallion, and all of this, they have been washed already, so you're going to make sure that you mince the scallion as well. You want to make sure that the scallion is very fine, so that when you're cooking the beef patty filling, guess what, all of this is going to be blending out. All of this is going to just basically disappear. So you want to make sure that the onion is very fine. Alright, so our scallion is out of the way. So we have some garlic. We're using at least 4 cloves of garlic. And then we're going to crush the garlic. And then after we crush the garlic, then we're going to mince it up. You see, Jamaican flavor, Jamaican food, it's all about big, bold flavors. It's all about flavors that blend well together. And onion, garlic, and thyme is one of those flavors that go very well together. You can also add pimento to it, but I've never really had the beef patty and had that pronounced flavor from the pimento. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And then we're going to add the scotch bonnet pepper. Well, this is not really a scotch bonnet pepper, but that's what I'm calling it. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be adding in a scotch bonnet pepper. It's very hot, so you want to make sure that it's minced as well, because if you bite the beef patty and you're getting one whole piece, it's going to be extremely hot for you. And then remember, The more pepper you add to the dish, is the spicier it is. Some persons like to have the beef patty mild, while some persons they can't handle the flavor. So we're just gonna make it in between, and we're gonna be using one whole pepper, and we're gonna dice this because we don't want it to be too hot. When I was growing up, I used to have the patties that I used to get. It was extremely hot. I'm telling you, hot, 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 hot. The patty hot, and then the filling hot. Sometimes it scorch up your mouth. And then in Jamaica, when you're buying beef patty, there's always a line outside the store. So guess what? That means it's coming out of the oven right away. So it's well hot. Only certain time of the day you go to the patty place, patty shop they call it. You go to the patty shop and the line short. Normally the line long go outside. So that means say yo, the patty them just come out of the oven. They don't have hand to sell it. They need more hands. So when you get the patty, you have to wait a bit before you put it in your mouth because the filling is extremely hot. So this is what our minced veggies that will go in the filling looks like. I'm gonna show it to you so you can see. Alright, so when you're working with any form of dough, you want to make sure that the board is lightly floured. Make sure you have enough flour so that the dough don't stick to the board. So we have this floured enough. Now we're going to be rolling it out, and we always roll in one direction. Yeah, what? Let's not observe the rules today. Alright, so here's the trick now. Here is the trick with the beef patty. So if we roll it out like this, it's not going to be flaky. If you want it to be flaky, you have to create the flake. And how do you create the flake? By folding the dough. So that's one level of flake that is there right now when we fold it over like that. Alright? So you create the flake and then you roll. Alright, you know what we're going to do next? We're going to fold again. If you guess fold, you got it right. So we're going to fold the dough again. We're adding in some more flour so that it doesn't stick. So how many folds we have already? We have about 4 folds, so that's 4 times 2, so we have about 8 layers so far. So we're going to continue to roll, and we're going to continue the folding process. Alright, so guys, now that you have a drift of how the folding is, I'm going to continue to roll this out, and I'm going to cut out the rest of the process so you don't have to continue watching this part of it. But the more flake, the principle is that the more you fold it, is the more flake you get. So far we have about 12 flakes, and obviously some of the flakes are going to join up with each other, so that's important to just add as many fold as you can get without having it tear. So we're just going to fold it, and then we're going to cut that out, and we're going to put the dough to cool again, and then we're going to work on our beef filling, and then we're going to come back to the dough and cut out the dough, put the filling to cool, and then we're going to put it inside of the patty. Alright guys, so that's what we're going to be working on now. Alright guys, so this is what the finished dough looks like. If you look closely, you can see the different layers. You can almost peel them back, you see? That is the flake. That is the flake that we're looking for. So we're gonna let this sit for a little while, then we're gonna cut it out. Alright guys, so the beef is partially cooked, almost fully cooked. We're gonna take this out, we're gonna mince it up, and then we're going to make the filling. We're going to be adding in the veggies in this pot with the liquid and let it continue to cook and get soft, and then we're going to mince up the beef and add it back to this thick rich liquid. Alright, so we're adding in the seasoning to the liquid. We're going to let this continue to cook, and then we're going to go ahead and work on this beef that we have. You see how rich and thick it looks, and we didn't add any food coloring into it. This is just a natural beef flavor. So we're going to work on our beef. We have to let it cool a little bit first before we can work with it, because it's really hot. So we're going to let this cool, and then we're going to dice it up as small as we can get them diced. If you have a food processor, you can run them in the food processor. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to get back to this right away. So I'm going to put this in the fridge while this is cooking. Alright, so we have our beef now. We're going to cut them as thinly as possible. And like I said, guys, you don't have to do it this way, but I prefer to do it this way personally, when I can get to see and feel some of the chunks of meat in the beef patty. When I was young, when I was very small, and I go to the patty shop, that's how I would know that I'm getting beef, when I find some strands of beef in the patty lying around. Some persons don't like that, but hey, to each his own. So I'm making sure that my beef is well minced. And then, like, when I use the grains don't give me that taste, to be honest. So guess what? You can maybe start your own patty company, a small patty company, sell it from your house, or sell it on the street, or open a storefront. Whatever inspires you. You know how you think already. Each company, the huge patty companies that are there that you see now, they were once very small, and somebody decided that they're going to make these, and then people fell in love with it, and then it grows. You shall never, if you make beef patties and it's good, you won't have hand to sell them. So maybe you can try out my recipe and put your spin on it until you develop that perfect flavor that you're looking for, and then always record your recipes so that you can always go back and you know what to tweak and you know what to improve. Alright, so this is the ground beef that I'm using. I'm using my own beef. I'm going to go ahead and continue chopping. Then I'm going to add this to the sauce now and let it cook for about 10 minutes until it becomes thick. You know what, I'm going to let this stay in there. Normally I would cut it out, but this is like a blooper. I was cutting up the beef and then the liquid dry down, but that's how it is in cooking as well. But normally I would cut this out a bit, but I'm just going to let this see that little mistake. Most of the liquid dry down, but that's alright. Still not ruin nothing. So we're going to go ahead now and dunk in our beef. Add some more liquid to this now and let it cook for about another 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes mark pass, then I'll get to know what I'll be doing to it. Alright guys, it tastes good stuff. Let me taste it first. I'm telling you it tastes good and I don't even taste it. Alright, it tastes bad. A little bit too spicy, but that's alright. I'm going to let this continue to cook for a little while. Wow, really spicy. I'm going to let it cook for a little bit of time, then I'm going to add some thickening agent into it, and then I'm going to add a small amount of ketchup to it. Woo, spicy. Alright, food is, so guess what? The filling is now complete. I'm going to leave this and let it cool. I'm gonna let this cool off so I can have it to put in the filling. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the dough. By the time I'm finished cutting out the dough, the filling should be ready to go inside of the patty. Alright foodies, so yeah, we have the dough right here. So now we're going to roll it out and we're going to cut out the size of the patty that we want. So that's what we're going to be doing now on this stage. Alright, so this is the size that we're using to cut out the patty. If you want it to be smaller, use a smaller container, and then remember we're going to fold it in half. So the bigger the container, the bigger the patty will be. So we're using this size. And I'm going to only show you how to make about 2 of them, and then the rest, I'm sure you guys can pause the video and go back and watch it so you can see how I got the shape of the patty. And then when you have excess dough, you can always stack it together again and roll it over. So I have 2 patties right now. Alright, so for the filling, you just want to add a generous amount of filling, and you don't want to go too close to the edge because we're going to close it over. So you just want to have just enough to come to the almost center of the patty. Then we're going to fold it over, and then you're going to close off the edges, and then you're going to use the fork just to crimp it out. So remember, we're using the fork just to close off the patty. And then here the thing now, this is very important. You want to use a fork to actually prick the patty so that it doesn't rise too much when the heat gets inside of the patty. Because if you don't bore holes in it, what will happen is that the patty will swell because of the hot air that is inside of it. So you want to use a fork to prick it. So this is how the patty looks before it's baked. Alright, let me repeat the process again for those of the students who are slow in class today. Remember what we did, we put the patty close to the center and we leave space around the patty so that the patty will be able to stick to the dough. So closing it up, and then we're using the fork to close it. And then if it's not sticking, you can always use water, put some water on it so that it sticks a lot easier. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to transfer these onto a sheet of paper, onto a sheet of grease paper, and then put it in the oven. Alright guys, so this is how it looks. This is how a typical patty size is in Jamaica. When you're having it from Jamaica or the Jamaican way, it's about this size. So I'm going to go ahead and make some smaller ones, cutting it down into half and making some cocktail ones. So we're going to put some egg wash onto this, and the egg wash is basically milk and egg. Brush it on the patty, and then we're going to put it in the oven and bake it. Alright guys, so these are what the smaller ones look like. These are the ones where I went ahead and use the rest of the dough to roll over. But then when I was making the big ones, I realized I didn't do something, and I'm not afraid to realize and see that I make a mistake. I forgot to put water around the edge, and the water helps to keep it seal or lock off. So I'm glad that you're here to this part of the video so you could have correct my mistake. So when you're making it yourself, you don't make this mistake. So we're putting water on the edges, and the water helps to keep it to stick properly together. So we're gonna close these up and we're gonna bake them. Okay, so before I add the egg wash to the patties, I'm gonna preheat the oven at 365 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna bake it for 25 minutes. Remember, It's imperative 365 for 25 minutes or until golden brown. Okay foodies, so we're gonna be adding in our egg wash, and the egg wash is what it is basically. It is milk and egg. This will helps the patties to just pop, to give them a better golden brown color. Okay guys, so I'm happy with how these are now, so I'm going to pop these in the oven. The next time you see them, they're going to be golden brown. And remember, we preset our oven at 365 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to bake these for 25 minutes or until they are golden brown. Or what you can do, you can just lift up the bottom, and you can see that the cooking has taken place. That's what we're going to be doing. If you reach it here to this stage of the video, I would like for you guys to subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now let's get these right into the oven. Okay foodies, so this is what the finished product looks like. You can see the layers, you can see the flake in the patty, you can see the you can see the different flake in the patty. It's very flaky, it's very juicy. You can see the nice juice running out of it. If you are brave enough to try this recipe, go ahead and try it, guys. I'll be love to see your reaction in the comment section. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, share and subscribe.